I am Jamie Adrian, and joining me today is Kathy Reiker. It is December 19th, 2011, and we are on the campus of McDaniel College. Thank you, Kathy, for being with us today and sharing your memories. I'd like to start with some background information. Can you tell me where and when you were born?
March 6, 1934, on what they call Biggs's Road.
Here in
Carroll County.
In Carroll County?
Mm-hmm.
Great. And where did you grow up?
About 5 miles from there, out on, then it was 140, but now it's 97, across from the little schoolhouse that's there on the corner of Stone Road. I lived there until, so I guess I was 37 years old or something. Went to Carroll schools in Charles Carroll for 9 years, and then transferred to Westminster. Finished my schooling there, and then went to Carroll Community College. I was one of the very first ones that fought to get to college in the area here because I wanted to go to college, but I couldn't afford to go out of the area. So I went to all of the meetings they had and talked to various people about getting the college here for us. And I'm very happy that we got it there.
Great. Can you tell me who your parents are and if you had any siblings?
My father was, they called him Ralph Leese, L-E-E-S-E. And my mother was Frida Reese, which is R-E-E-S-E, then married him. And that would have been December the 4th, 1933.
And do you have any siblings?
I have a sister and a brother.
Wonderful. And can you tell me about your community growing up? How was what was it like compared to today?
Very different than what it is today, because we played baseball in the yard where we lived, because we rented the house from the lady across the street, and she had a son, and we were like brother and sisters there. So then there was several other houses around in the area, and we'd all conjugate there at each other's house. Decided maybe instead of playing baseball that day, we were going to take a walk. Well, Stone Road was not there as the paved road, so we'd walk around there and come out into Union Mills at the Meadowview swimming pool there, which is not existing now either, and different things like that. We just sort of entertained ourselves because there was nothing else to do. The closest little store was close to 3/4 of a mile from where I lived. And when I was like 6 or 7 years old, the lady that owned the property, she'd pick us up in a 32 Ford and take us down to where the airport is now, and we plant tomatoes by hand there. Then you didn't have any access to machinery that did that, so you drop the plants and pour the water in. So we did that until it was dark. And I would help to pick beans and then go back and pick the tomatoes. Then my dad worked for Shriver's, who had a lot of the properties in Carroll County, the pea binders and things like that. And he was in charge of the people they brought up from Baltimore to pick the beans. So I would have to get up and go in the morning with him and then weigh the beans as they brought them in. And many times I had to dump them out because they put big stones in there to get the weight heavier, and I had to figure out how much I had to pay them, because it was usually the colored people that would come up with that, and they'd only last maybe a day, so they'd want their money that evening before we went out of the field. So we'd go to, if it was a nice day, we'd go to the field about 6 o'clock, and sometimes it was 8 by the time we would get out, because we had to weigh all the beans. And then Shriver's used to have a place, Route 27 I guess it is, and then they would bring Polish people up from there. And I had many friends. We made lots of friends with those people. And they would stay there until like the weekend, if they decided to go back home. And then I was responsible for weighing their beans and keeping a record of it. And then they got paid at the end of the week. Is that what you want to know?
Sure. I'm just interested in everything. So you mentioned your father working for Shriver's. Did your mother work outside of the home?
Yes, she did, during the summer.
What did she do?
She worked at the cannery of Shriver's. So I would keep my brother and sister. I have my sister's Nancy Studi, and she's 70. She'll be 76 today after Christmas. And then my brother is Bill Leese, and we all live in one area of each other. So guess one of the furthest away is my great niece that lives in East Berlin. But other than that, we all live within 20-mile radius of each other.
Well, that's nice. So you've lived your entire life in this one little area?
Yes, I did.
Great.
When I built my home, I moved. It was about a mile up the road from the big house we lived on and built a house there. I was lucky enough to get a piece of ground there for $2,000 then, but fine ground for $2,000. Yeah. And we owned what is now Gary and Dell's restaurant. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, he had an automobile accident and became a paraplegic. So then I tried to keep it going for 6 months, but I couldn't. It was too long because I was working at the phone company. Cause I worked for C&P for 30 years. It was too much to go to the hospital, miss 2 days and 11 months, go to the hospital to see him. Mm-hmm. So I had to sell it. But we went up and down stairs on a piece of foam about that thick, and then I'd pull him back to the bedroom. I'd lean down, he would put his hands on me, and I'd raise up like to get him in and out of bed and stuff like that.
And what was your husband's name?
Stanley Reiker.
Stanley. And when were you married?
When? June the 30th, 1967.
Oh, wonderful. Did you guys have any children?
No.
No children? Okay. Well, it sounds like you have lots of family there to take care of and to spend time with. How do you spend the holidays with your family now? You say that they're all in the surrounding area.
Take turns going from place to place. So this week, at the end of this Christmas, I will go with my niece in East Berlin, because she's the one who has two little girls, 6 and 2, and they call me Kaka. So she's asked me to come to there for Christmas. So I'll leave her house approximately 3 o'clock, and then I'll go down to my nephew's house who's having dinner.
Oh, nice. Sounds wonderful. What kind of jobs have you had since you've finished all your wonderful schooling?
Well, when I was 16, I started to work at the little drugstore there on the corner of John Street called Giles, Dr. Giles, Bixler and Giles it was. So I worked there for 2 years. But I started at the phone company then, right after that. And then I worked at JCPenney's for a while until the phone company got really busy and I had more work to do there. So then I left there. And mostly in the food service line. This is really what I've been doing most of the time. I worked at Bullocks Airport Inn for close to 10 years. But then I substituted teaching for like 9 years. And I came here.
I was going to ask that. Do you remember when you came and started working at McDaniel?
March the 26th, 2000.
Wonderful. Okay. And have you, what positions have you held here, or has it been the one position?
Well, like I said, it's mostly been in I've been in the pub off and on. I helped with catering and wherever they need me. Different things like that.
What sort of relationships do you develop with the students and the faculty and the staff working in the kitchen?
Sometimes it's too close of a relationship with the students, but I always make myself known to them and tell them if they have a problem, money-wise or whatever it is, and they need help with anything, I'll come to me and I'll try to find somebody. If I have to call Jim, I'll call Jim or something like that to make them satisfied. One day I had one coming in crying. I said, "What's the matter with you?" "You don't know what happened to me." I said, "Well, let's talk about it." So she had dropped her phone down in the toilet and it was gone. And I said, "Well, here's my phone. Call your mother." "No, I can't do that." I said, "Yeah, you can." I said, "You can't be without a phone. And how are you going to let your mother know what's going to happen? She's going to be worried about you." So she did. Her mother come in and she couldn't get done thanking me. That's the thing, a lot of times at graduation, the parents come in and thank me for being like a mother to them. And I've been selected 5 times for Phenomenal Woman for possible efforts like that.
Well, I was going to say, I saw that you were honored as one of the phenomenal women at McDaniel. That's a wonderful honor, and I'm sure that makes you feel pretty special.
Well, one time they wouldn't even let me do that. I had to get up and give a speech. I said, "I don't give speeches." "Well, you don't have any choice. We want you to. You're an alumni now. You have to give a speech." I said, "I don't give speeches." But I did. I did one, and then I had an English professor check it for me, and she said, "Well, that sounds okay."
Well, that's good. It's nice to be felt special about. Do you have any other special memories about your time here that you've had at McDaniel?
A lot of the catering events were very nice because I catered to weddings and different events like that, and that's always very interesting. One of the students that I was very fond of, her father works here also. For the 4 years that she went here, we became very close, and I didn't tell her nor him that I was going to be catering the wedding until she come in. And she come running over, "You're here, you're going to do my wedding." I said, "Yeah, I am." So she said I couldn't have asked for a better one to do it. So it's been lots of nice things.
Oh, wonderful. I'm going to backtrack a little.
Okay.
You mentioned the Carroll Community College and that you were involved with getting that in the community. Can you tell me how you got involved with that and expand on why a little more?
Well, I knew some of the people that were trying to get it started, so I would meet with them. I expressed my opinion about wanting to go to school because I knew I was going to have to pay my own way. And I asked them that we just needed that there because there's many of us that can't afford to go like here to begin with. And I think it's a good idea to have it here because you have many students that need to get their foot in the door, so to speak, with college. And that's the way to start. There's basic grounds there, and then you can advance on to another school, and you have the background of what's really required of you. Because it really, when you break it down, it isn't much difference than it is going here, because you still have the same papers to do and all those kind of things, which makes you learn how to spend your time and to make sure you get everything done. So I made the dean's list at the college.
And how many years did you attend school
Well,
there?
unfortunately, it took me like 8 years to do that. I started in 1976 and I graduated in 1984. But I also worked for the telephone company.
And what did you get your degree in?
I have an AA with additional for early childhood education.
Okay, good. And you said you had substituted teaching. Did you ever pursue teaching full time?
Not really. I would like to, what I really wanted to do was to, since my husband was a paraplegic and he had the illy loop and the colostomy, that was the field I was striking for. In fact, I was supposed to go to Harrisburg to school up there. I had like 6 or 7 patients in the area that they would call me if they had trouble with their illy loops and then the bags not staying on and that type of thing. Where the catheters came out, we had to get help with that. So that was where I was headed. But then he got very sick and I wasn't able to go any further with it. In fact, he died at the end of July, and I was supposed to start my clinical work at St. Agnes, but I wasn't able to start there. So then my plans to go to Harrisburg fell through. Because I had a small tax business then. We used to do about 1,000 tax returns a year. So of course, and that felt that I couldn't go into school.
Do you think you could talk with me a little bit about your battle with breast cancer? And tell me, when were you diagnosed?
3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had mammograms ever since I was 40. No problems, nothing or anything. And I went in April, I think it was, 2008. And everything was cleared. She said, well, you'll have to come back the second time first to let me review it. I said, okay. So I did, and then I got a phone call. And she said, I need you to come in. I need to talk to you. And of course, she didn't want to talk about it on the phone. So I went in, and she said, unfortunately, we have found something. We need to make an appointment and have the biopsies done. So that was May. That was May then, and then we set that up for June the 2nd, and then I had the surgery on July 2nd, 2000.
Where did you seek treatment? Here in Carroll County, you were able to stay local?
Yes.
Oh, that's good. And what sort of support did you find from your family, your community, even here at McDaniel?
Well, the support I got from this area is 90% of the support that I got. And I tell everybody that. I asked not to be sent flowers because when I had the biopsy done, I got so many flowers I didn't know where to go with them. And I figured if I was going to have the surgery, it would even be worse. So I said, do whatever you want to do, but please don't send flowers, because it's such a waste. They last 7 days and then they're gone. So they took a collection here. And I was going to send it in to research. But the more I thought about it, that's not what I really want to do. I want to keep it local. So I donated it to the Dove House for them for transportation for other victims that needed, or persons that needed to get for treatments and things. So that's basically where the money went.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And so you've been cancer-free now for 3 years.
Yes.
This is a wonderful milestone.
It's not easy. It's not as easy as what people think, but there again, you have to keep talking to yourself. And like I said, people here, they know, and they give me a lot of support. I have one niece that was very good. She stayed with me and supported me greatly with that. So, unfortunately, we're not a very close wrapped family. I mean, people think that maybe we are, but we really aren't.
Well, sometimes you get family outside of your immediate family, and it sounds like you have a lot of that.
I have a lot of family right here.
That's
right
wonderful.
there. He brought me so much orange juice when I was home. He was always stopping by, wanting to know what I needed and all that. So.
Oh, that's great. Now I see you've got your breast cancer awareness pens, and I see your beautiful bracelets. Are you still involved with support and awareness and stuff like that in the community?
Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm getting my money check ready to send to Dove House for that, the one that's advertised that they have in the Times paper.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, how do they have it, holiday something or the other? And I always send it to there, because I've had many friends that went there and have passed away there.
Mm-hmm.
So I send my money there. I go to the spring flings that they have, which are very nice. Give me your number, I'll take you along sometime. There's all women there. It's nice. And they have it over at the Piney Run, and they have a delicious meal, and then they have a speaker. You can ask questions if you want to, and the door prizes and all those kind of things. It's very nice.
Good. What are the most important lessons you've learned in life, whether it's through school or work or your family?
Put your best foot forward. And you're going to meet up with obstacles that's going to slow you down, but you've got to be strong and tell yourself you're going to conquer them. And you will.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have determination to do that. That's why I was so glad to get to college here, because I was determined I was going to go to school. But I knew I couldn't outside other than here. I mean, you look at the prices, I think I paid $15 for
Wow.
What is it now? $45? Something like that? I think that's what it was when we first. I took 2 classes the first year that I went, and then the next year I dropped down to 1 because I took an English course, and it was all this writing, and then I had to give speeches and all this. And like I said, I don't give speeches. But I made it.
Good. Who's been the biggest influence on your life, and what lessons did that person teach you?
I had a school teacher at Charles Carroll. I had her for 3 years because I should have left Charles Carroll when I went into the 9th grade, but I didn't. I wanted to finish there. In fact, they're having, I think it's their 95th year, and we're all supposed to go back. They left there before I went on to Westminster. She unfortunately knew the type of home life that I had, and she was very, very, very supportive, and she told me that only you yourself can take care of yourself. Don't depend on other people to do that for you, because if you want to get anywhere in life today, you have to be determined to do it on your own. So if she had anything special going on, she would stop and take me along and show me how to do things. I made many of my clothes when I was with her because she worked in the home ec mostly. And, so she's really been, unfortunately, she has passed away.
Sounds like a special person.
She was.
How would you like to be remembered?
Someone that was always fair to others, and I don't make negative thoughts. I like to see the good in everybody, because there is good in everybody. You just have to try to search for that, or be very understanding, and let people know you care about them. instead of always being on the negative side of things. And I think it makes you a bigger person if you can exist. I try every day to meet somebody new. And when I walk through the hall, I talk to them or speak their name if I know, or tell them to have a nice day or something like that.
Can you talk a little bit about canning? About the canning factory when you were a little girl, and what
There.
kind of an impact it had on the community, and what it was like?
You mean the one there on the corner of Stone Road?
Well, I didn't even know it was there.
Oh yeah, I wasn't allowed to go in to actually peel the tomatoes or anything like that, but I had to help to pick the tomatoes because they're the ones that. I should tell you how we smoked.
Please.
Corn fodder and then burned the shed down. He was a bird. We had a funeral for one of my big dogs. But yeah, we would plant the tomatoes, you know, when it was due, and then we'd have to go back and pick them, and then you had put them in baskets, and then there was somebody that would dump them in a conveyor. And my mother peeled there for a long time until I got older, and then I had to keep my brother and sister. And we had a woman that was supposed to be staying there. My dad worked at the freezer where back of where it just closed down. Meadow, the flower.
Yeah.
What's putting in there now is either they're building a big building. It's a flower store that's back in there. And then he come home for lunch, and she said it was Friday and we didn't eat meat then. She said, "What am I going to make today?" And I said, "Well, today's Friday. We have to have vegetables or tomato soup or something like that, potato soup." "Well, how do I do it?" I said, "Okay, you got to peel the potatoes, cook them, and then here she dumps a quart of cold milk in it and sets it down in front of him." I think he rose up out of the chair and sat back down, and out the door he went. "Well, what a lunch?" And I said, "What was I supposed to do?" But then it started to be that I got to the point where I had to can the peas and everything. It took me like then you cooked them 3 hours on a coal stove.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew up, singeing my eyebrows. My grandfather said, "That's enough of that." So then he got me a gas stove to do the canning and everything like that. So like I said, it's not always been easy. You learn a lot when you have to fend for yourself. But there, you know, then they canned them right there. And then the little brick building was there.
Mm-hmm.
After they got them canned, then they would store them over there till they used to do hominy and everything over there too. Yeah. But she has since passed away, and well, so I'll be 78. I guess Carol's getting close to being about 80 or 81, but then he has that big farm down there. We often wonder what, my sister and I went by yesterday, and we were just wondering what was going to happen to all that, because they don't have any children. And acres upon acres.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of fun. She had, his mother would drive this 32-year Ford, and one day her cousin lived right above where we did, and he was walking, and she stopped and she said, "Percy, do you want to ride?" "No, I'm in a hurry, I gotta walk." And her son, he was a bird. He'd put his foot over the accelerator to make her go faster. It was a lot of fun being a teenager in that area because we lived there, and he was across the street, and then across on the other side of Stone Road there was 4 of them that lived there, and down below us there were more there. And then Dottie Little and all them lived across down there from John Owens Road, and that up where the golf course is now. They used to have a cannery there too.
Really?
So we weren't that when we were down there picking tomatoes and beans for them and all that. So we had to fend pretty much for ourselves. But it was an interesting thing to see how it was actually done. Unless you actually see it, you can't believe that's how it is. And he was very picky about the tomatoes that he used. Didn't want anything with any blemishes or anything, which you have to be, because if any of the bad things got in there, it would spoil the whole can or whatever it was then. So it was very interesting. It was neat growing up. Like I said, there were bad days, but there was always good days.
Well, you must have liked it enough to stay, so the area. Like
Yeah.
You stayed here your entire life.
So I had 7 operations in 4 years, so that part of the medical part, that was about the only type of surgery I had until I had the cancer surgery. So, does that answer your question? Anything else you want to know?
Did you live on a farm?
No. Well, we farmed some of the ground. That's where the bad things come in. We used to always plant vegetables and weed and things, and then the field behind the house, my dad would plow up like a half an acre of that back there, and then we'd plant corn and things like that, and lima beans, and you dare not, and they were pole llamas, and you dare not touch the end of them because that'd kill the whole stock if you did. And we'd have to hoe all that. We didn't have any animals to do anything like, so we had to hoe all that and then do all that by hand. Pick up the potatoes, and then we used to butcher. Did as high as 26 hogs one time.
Wow, that must be an experience.
It was. I mean, it was 2 days work there because we'd do it for a lot of other people, and then they'd bring the animals there, and then they'd scrape the hogs and do all that there. And I can remember 2 years in a row, I guess, we set the tables for 50 people. We had to take turns. I never got so tired of baking pies, but that's the way it did. My dad went around and butchered for other people from about October to March, I guess. That's how he made his living then. And all of my uncles and all that, they liked the butchering then too. You don't see a lot of that anymore. It's
How did they keep the meat? Because
You had a smokehouse.
Yeah, okay.
and you'd like the hams and everything, and that you would cut them down and clean out the pieces that you wanted. Cut the sirloin out, and then the sirloin you would like partially fry it, and then you'd pack it in those crocks and put lard over the top of it. That was a treat. To get down and scrape that lard off of it and get your slices. That was a delicatessen.
So it was like pickling then?
Well, no, not really, because the lard preserved it until you were ready to use it, and then you'd scrape that off, but you had to be very careful with the way you did it. And then we had an old cold cellar that kept a lot of it cold, because we heated the house with coal, so it was, the other side of it was really cold. Cut my finger more than one time too, because we had these big knives. We had to cut the lard, and then that was usually done on a Sunday, and then on a Monday they would fry that all down and make the sausages, and had the big old machine there. But you don't want to hear about it. Because if I told you what sausage was done with it, you wouldn't ever eat another piece of sausage.
So you did all that actually at your house then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We were always kept busy.
Yeah, it sounds like and
It was always nice because you learned something new there then too, by how everything was taken care of. And you hear these people today saying about buying this and buying that, and I just wonder how they would react if they ever had to go do some of that work. Because you'd skin out your hogs, and then you get the big slabs of actually lard-like type thing, and you'd have to cut them up into little pieces, and then you'd fry them down in big black kettles, and you had to stir them, and then you'd make your own panhas, and make your own stuff, your cooked sausage and all that kind of stuff. And then when you got done, you'd press it down, and you'd have those cracklings you hear a lot of people talk about. Did you ever eat cracklings?
Oh yeah.
Because I used to, when some of my friends did, I know Seal likes mine. I bring her some in, because she, that's their food when you get down to the
Sure.
That's poor people's food.
Yeah. Comfort food.
Food, yeah.
Comfort food.
Yeah, that's, yeah. I don't know. I don't think you would like it though. Are you from the city?
In between.
Oh. It's, people today, if they had to do this, I just wonder what their reactions would be. I can see a lot of these kids now run into the corner somewhere, so they never make it.
There'd be a lot more vegetarian.
Probably.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it really would be.
Now, when you started, you were saying that you lived up where that little schoolhouse is, right on
Across the
Stone
road.
Yeah. When you were a little girl, was that a schoolhouse?
Many years before I.
Before you were a little girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
I forget exactly. See, the lady that owned that, she was a teacher, so she taught there. Yeah, because back around 1910 or something like that. I think she had that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had a little old shack there, and I can remember. We plant seeds to make brooms out of, and that's where he lit up one day and threw it in the shed. We had funerals. I had a pet dog, and whenever they made me kneel, I'd go out and crawl in the dog box with her. She was about 18 years old when she died. He dressed up to look like a preacher. We had her all fixed up in a wig and all wrapped up in flowers. Yeah, it was good days. Good bad days. But you kind of put the bad days in the background.
Exactly.
Nobody can do anything about them, so it's a good idea to share the good things.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you have a good philosophy to live by.
Yeah. Yeah. He said, hey, there his mother came running out. What happened now? I don't know. You didn't do nothing. You all finished?
Well, I guess so, unless there's anything else you have to add.
Can't think of anything.
Oh, I want to thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing your memories of Carroll County and the surrounding areas with us today.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.